This is on the spot with the diet. Welcome back to the spot with the diet. I'm here with our first guest, Zach Sanford.
Hi folks, Zach Sanford here, nice to meet you.
I'm going to start off with some plank questions here. So Zach, how long have you been skating?
I first started skating when I was 4. I think my first board was the Skull Skates that came from Ohio Surf and Skate on Wyoming. But the first board I remember was the second board, and that was an 8th Street Matt Hensley with the Eagle. I'm not a huge one for graphics and reissues, so I don't have a picture of it on the wall or haven't purchased the board online or anything, but maybe one day.
So what's your current setup?
Current setup, actually recently I've just been experimenting with the Powell flight deck, which is incredibly thin and really snappy, but that's because I had an issue just breaking a lot of boards, trying tricks that I'm not very good at, and snapping off the nose and tail, because I'm heavier than a lot of skaters. I think skaters up near 200 pounds have a hard time if you're skating every day, holding on the decks for sort of trying new things. And I skate Indy 149s, and every time always Spitfire Formula 4 101 hardness is crucial in my eyes, and I really like the lock-in cut lately has been really nice. The Spitfire Formula 4 lock-ins in 101 are great. Usually like 50. I used to get 54, but I'm starting to find I like them smaller and smaller now, so like 52s.
Get back to the 90s.
Yeah.
The 50s.
Yeah.
It's just ride bearings, you know. So you like skating alone, or you like skating with friends?
I love skating with friends all the time, but I have a 1-year-old son, and it's really hard to get other people to come and skate at the times that are most convenient for my family. So oftentimes I'll go and skate at 7 or 8 in the morning. If he was up late the night before, I know he'll sleep until 9, and I can skate quite a bit in just a couple of hours. I'm near the area where I live or wherever I wake up for out of town, and I'll just go out and sort of really get it in for 2 hours, and that works great on days when my wife is available in the morning and she wakes up with my son. I'm a real morning person, so oftentimes I'm up at 5 or 6 getting work done, and then I'll skate soon after. Got a lot of skating. I'll have done, handled emails and things like that, and skated all before night.
I'm still sleeping. That's crazy. Yeah, that's like middle of my night. That's crazy. Yeah, tell us a joke.
Oh shoot!
On the spot, man.
Oh man!
On the spot, tell a joke. It's gotta be good. It's gotta be spot worthy.
Spot worthy?
I don't know.
Man, this spot's a joke. Actually, this spot is a joke. We'll show it to you shortly. We pulled over on the spot, the very first spot. And
anyway, that's a great joke. Yeah, I remember when I was like, seriously? We got the stair, we got that's it.
Yeah.
What's your worst injury moment in skating? What's the worst?
I think it's always relative to how much you've been skating. So if you're skating every day and you're really feeling it, and things are going great, just a minor injury that sets you back for a couple of weeks can feel, can be really troubling and really break your rhythm and your stride. So one that did that for me was breaking my right metatarsal bone in my foot, and that was maybe like 6 or 8 weeks without skating, but I've been skating a whole lot right then. So that was one where I would just remember being really bummed to hurt myself. and that's I don't think about the injury so much as how I felt not being able to skate, and that's the trouble. But last time I was hurt, I found it really productive because I put some ideas into action that had kind of been lingering in my head for a long time, and then I hurt my knee and I couldn't skate for a month, and it gave me an opportunity to really work hard on those things. So it can be really productive if you use it in the right way. Instead of just becoming depressed that you can't get out, and you need to find another outlet. Oh, it's good. Out here, on the spot.
You're literally like, set up a tripod. What's your favorite skate park to go to or skate spot?
Oh man, easy. Moraine Skate Park is definitely my favorite. I love it. I've just been going there for years in the evenings during the week, and it's always been fairly close to where I live when I've been living in Dayton. And it's just an easy park to learn tricks because there's a lot of small, short ledges and things like that that are really forgiving. Grass 6 feet after they end, things like that. So yeah, it's just a really comfortable place to learn tricks. And then the thing about Moraine that really made it fantastic is that the rather rudimentary and somewhat boring stuff that was put there by the city has been augmented by DIY builds all the way around the outside that really make the park flow naturally. There's an amazing slappy curb, a really fun box, a wonderful bold quarter pipe with pool coping, a china bank that's intensely difficult to skate, and a number of other things too, like a taco quarter pipe and Can Man's contribution. Most of the previous features, Dave Schweitzer spearheaded the project. Can Man really did well with the shorter, bold quarter pipe with 2 humps in front of it. That's a ton of fun to skate, like either as a ledge or as a short quarter pipe. And then the other hump as you enter the park. So it's just so much fun because it mixes DIY and what the city put there, which is pretty boring, and it's been there for years. Yeah, well, that's why I love Moraine. I mean, I'm just so grateful to the people who have put a lot of work in there, and that's why I wanted to really mention all the reasons that I love it, because it is just so much fun, and I love skating with all the people who skate there. Yeah, I just always have a great time.
Questions on your nickname the professor. How'd that all come about?
Well, it's hardly it's a
Most
nickname, but it's also a job
know.
title. But I teach at the University of Dayton in the Health and Sports Science Department, and I got my start doing that teaching about soccer. A lot of my family is from England, so I moved over there for a year after I graduated from Wright State, and I wanted to write for a snowboard magazine or a skate magazine or something to do with soccer. I knew I liked sports or lifestyle, whatever, skating, and as well as sports like soccer, and so I wanted some kind of a job that involved writing and some interest in it. And I really enjoyed going to soccer matches, and I had really gotten into the World Cup and things like that. So I got an internship writing for a soccer company, and then I ended up going to school and getting a degree in sports management. And because it was in England, it specialized in the business of what they call football. And so I just really turned my interest into a one-year master's program, and because it's kind of a unique thing, I've been able to teach specifically about that topic at UD for a long time, as well as some other sports management classes, and then they eventually also allowed me to develop my own course on action sports, the kind of business and culture of skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing. So that's been a lot of fun.
Any hobbies outside skateboarding?
All sorts of hobbies. I'd say my number one hobby is reading. I love reading novels, magazine articles, all kinds of reading, whatever I'm interested in. The first place I go is to the magazines or to the writers or to the newspapers that are covering that thing. So, one of the first places I turn for skateboarding is Thrasher, Transworld, sadly departed. I really enjoyed Transworld as well growing up. So definitely reading would be a number one hobby. Also parenting, it's not so much a hobby, but it's, one of the thing that I do is sort of playing with my son, and whatever he's into, I'm into that. So I guess parenting, whatever Bowen's hobbies are, my 1.5-year-old, those are my hobbies too. So.
Got any musical influence, like certain bands, genres?
I'm going to take an unconventional route because I do like a lot of music and I've listened to all genres over the years. In fact, lately I've enjoyed a lot of classic country music and stuff like that, older country music, all sorts of things throughout my entire life. When I was a teenager, I was really into hip hop and stuff. But I'm going to take an unconventional route for this one and say podcasts. The music I'm into right now is podcasts. I love all the new skateboard podcasts that are out, like Vent City, mostly skateboarding, of course the 9 Club. I love The Bunt, the boys up in Canada, Anthony Shetler's show, The Shetler Show, Tommy Guerrero's show, really all the podcasts out there that have to do with skateboarding, and then tons of non-skating podcasts also that are awesome. And in fact, one episode about skateboarding that is fantastic comes from a podcast called 99% Invisible, and it's an episode about Love Park. And the 99% Invisible is just a podcast about art and design and architecture, but their episode on Love Park is wonderful, and it contains one of the great lines about skateboarding ever, which I'll paraphrase for you. Hopefully I get it right, but I can't be certain. And that is, when I go around the city and I see wax caked on a curb or scratches from wheels left on a wall, those are like breadcrumb trails left for me by my people. And I really like that line from the narrator of that podcast. So check out 99% Invisible on Love Park. And podcasts are my number one musical influence, Mike.
Alright, so we're going to start with hype.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Better wear your seatbelt, folks, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. No, I'm just kidding. Just relax. So how did hype come about, or how did you start hype?
Well, once again, I mentioned just a little while ago how I was hurt sort of for a month and made that a really productive period. And that was during January, and that's when I kind of crystallized this year, 2019. And that's when I kind of crystallized the ideas that have been in my head for a long time about starting a youth mentoring organization that uses skateboarding to reach young people in the areas in and around Dayton, Ohio. So the reason I had that idea is because I worked for a similar organization in New York for 3 years called Stoked, and I loved working for them. We took young people snowboarding, skateboarding. I didn't do much of the surfing. I'm not a great swimmer or surfer, that's for certain. But the youngsters also went surfing as well, and I just saw how that organization helped so many kids through their freshman year of high school and really helped them emerge as strong, confident young adults through skateboarding, snowboarding, and surfing. And the motto at Stoked is, or one of many mottos, is creating fearless leaders. And the way they did that is by teaching people to skateboard and snowboard and surf for the first time who may have been totally opposed to it at first and had no confidence about the idea and went out and tried it for the first time and ended up falling in love with it and going everywhere and stuff like that. And that really helps them in other areas of their life to be more confident and bold when it comes to getting into college and handling the challenges of life in school in late teenage years in a city like New York and some really rough neighborhoods and things like that. So working through Stoked gave me the idea to come back to Dayton and help reach young people in my hometown in the same way. So, it's,
what's the effect on people for what the kids see? Are they
the effect on
hyped about it, or are they?
well, so far, I mean, we haven't gotten hyped into any schools yet. We're very new, and the crucial thing that we need now, the next step is to get to find a few schools who want to take us on as an after-school program, 1 day a week, ideally for next school year. And we're talking about working with some summer camps and other organizations in Dayton that do youth programming over the summer, and also some adult programming too. If you have an organization that works with adults, and I think at any age, trying something new, can be really beneficial, and that's really the effect for students through Hyped. Imbuing them with a new confidence, taking the time to show them how to drop in or help them work on their push, or maybe they've skated a few times before and they can half ollie, and you can, in 10 minutes of talking to them, help them turn that little ollie into a consistent 6-inch standing still ollie, and then they can, the next time they skate, they have a goal, a rolling ollie. So really taking the time to help people and to help people develop a new skill can have such an important effect for them, and that's what I saw through Stoked in New York again. And
obviously, it's a very fresh company.
yeah, not so much a company. I want to highlight that it's a non-profit organization.
Or a group.
An
I call it maybe it's not really a company, but
I like calling it a community because I've been really touched by how many people, you included, have seen what we're trying to do with Hype and are willing to put their time and effort and energy toward helping us out. So I prefer community or community organization, and that's what I like.
Hey, yeah, well, at least we got it.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. That,
Hype is not.
Well, no, I do think it's important.
Hype
I want
is
people
more
to
of
know that
this.
it's something that they belong to as well. And that's, if you take a look at our Instagram, there's so many people that I've met through posting their skating or them seeing their friends skating there. And we really are interested in
get your
including
likes, get your
everybody who's
follows.
skating and has an interest in potentially volunteering or mentoring or helping young people, or who's an example in some way, or perhaps just even the dedication that it took for them to do one trick that we post can be an example of the way that skateboarding can positively impact someone's lives, teaching them the kind of persistence to go out and do a hard trick on the board is just the same that's required to do well in school.
It's like,
I brought my hat. How about you?
Okay, that's fair. What's the current goals for 2019?
Number one goal is to find organizations that can help us reach groups of young people, to get schools to say, yes, we'd like you to do what's required to help you reach students at our school and offer free skateboard lessons and mentoring to them, and we're willing to set aside a space on the playground or perhaps in the gym or cafeteria where you can run skateboard lessons and some other youth programming for a couple of hours 1 day a week after school. Ideally, we could get 5 schools, and that's the number one goal, is to reach young students through schools. But then the secondary part of the number one goal is having a place for them to gather on Saturdays so they can form friendships, hyped students across school districts, and that can help make them more resilient against the problems in their community, particularly the problem of opioids. And you don't need to look far in the newspapers or even on TV to see that that's a major problem for the area. So helping students form friendships through a Saturday safe skate space that can make them more resilient against drug-related peer pressure in school. Number one goal.
heard seen or been out in public while skating?
Oh man, wow. Well, I should define first. An important thing I think is to define spots, and a lot of the stuff that I skate, I don't think people would think of as spots. But the most fun way to skate for me is to skate whatever's in front of you and whatever's around, as one does when they're young. Before you can drive with your friends, going around and skating in your local area, whatever you can find. For me, that's one of the most fun ways to skate. So because I'll skate anything that a lot of people don't think of as spots. I end up encountering a lot of people. One of my favorite encounters I had with someone while skating was skating a ledge in Manhattan at 57th Street and 9th Avenue. It's painted maroon. It's really great, especially goofy or rolling in switch for someone like me who's regular front side. And there's a woman who feeds the pigeons there daily, and she always scatters the bird feed kind of all over the ledge and in the planter up beyond the ledge, all over the floor in front of it. And one time I was trying a trick that was really hard for me, and midway through the session she came up and scattered the bird feed everywhere. And there were signs there saying, "Do not feed the pigeons." And we had a sort of debate, a very friendly debate back and forth, where I explained that in fact at this spot there are signs saying "Don't feed the pigeons," but there were no signs saying "No skateboarding." And maybe this time I was in the right. Nevertheless, she was really committed to feeding those pigeons. So I sat down and waited 10 minutes until, anyway, they ate some of the bird seed, and then eventually I rolled through it and skated the ledge more. So it was a lot of fun, and that's one.
Did it help you slide more, or was it kind of rough?
Well, I like a ton of wax on whatever I'm skating because I'd always rather slip out than stick. So I'm not sure it had much of an impact. However, yesterday I skated a ledge that was covered in ivy, and I was like, instead of removing the ivy, waxing the ledge, and then, which probably won't go, why don't I just try and take advantage of all the moisture and whatnot that's in the ivy and see if I can tail slide it, and believe it or not, it worked. So that was a lot of fun. So the birdseed may have had some effect. I doubt it made it any slower. But ivy and plant matter can definitely make a ledge faster. Exactly.
So you got a team of 2 other people with you, or is it
My brother Jeremy Sanford works on our website, and he lives out in San Francisco, but he's from Dayton as well. And Logan Rowland is a student at State University. He's been a huge help for us as well. And I'm not sure exactly what he would tell you his title is, because I somehow feel like he's more than an intern, because he does an awful lot and puts a lot of hard work and energy into Hyped and really backs the project. And so I'm really grateful for his work. So Logan Rowland is the other individual that's working with us. So far 3 are working organizing, but even I feel as though I have to mention the people like David Shepard and Wes Wyrick, who have contributed stories to the website, Logan Treenham, yes, and Mike Adkins, who have contributed visual content, and so many others. Austin Stroke, who's contributed a logo design that is fantastic, and that I really look forward to getting made into stickers or something like that. Diego Zarita, who's contributed logo designs as well, and so many others. So really grateful to everyone who's helped out with Hyped. And also to Travis Coomer, Travis Coomer, who worked really hard to organize Kurt's Cookout and has been really helpful with Hyped as well. There's one other person I want to thank for their help with Kurt's Cookout as well, and that's Garrett Payne, who was behind the grill rather than on his skateboard that day. But Kurt's Cookout was the event that it was because of Travis Coomer and Garrett Payne and Aaron Lindbergh. And I know so many people came out and had fun. We were really glad to be able just to help those guys. But Travis Coomer and Garrett Payne are the ones to thank for that. And to collaborate with next year if you're looking to help out. And I also want to thank Wes Wyrick. Again, I thanked him for his contributing to the website, but as an MC and a hype man that day, Wes Wyrick was awesome.
I think he's coming to my event.
Yeah, I hope so, and he'll definitely be at the Hyped launch event on June 14th and 15th. And if he'd be so kind, I'd love him to handle the megaphone a little bit as well, because it's just so much fun when he's getting us all stoked. So.
Anyway, a gift, man. So,
oh, wow, man.
Enjoy.
Yes, what?
Yeah.
Oh, collab stickers. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, these are yours.
This is really great. I really appreciate this.
Yeah.
I'm going to slap one on my telephone right now. It's just the right size. I love a small sticker that goes right on the phone. So, oh, Mike, thank you so much, my friend.
Oh, it was that like first design. I was like, this gotta be something.
This is really great. I really appreciate it, Mike. And thank you so much for asking me to be a guest on the Spot.
The first one.
The first guest.
I don't know how long I'll do this for, but...
well, I can think of about a million other
I know.
skaters, men and women both, who would be great interview subjects for you, Mike. So if you're ever running short on someone for On the Spot, there's so many people in Dayton who have interesting stories to tell, and I'd love to connect you guys. So, thank you so much for these great stickers. I'm really delighted by
new
this.
releases too.
Just to clarify, this is a cop doing some shredding and being cheered on by a group of youngsters. Is that a Dublin, Mike?
No, that's
okay,
a stock photo.
Got it, stock photo.
I didn't take the photo, it's a stock photo.
Just to clarify, thank you so much, man. This has been a lot of fun. Cheers.